Hello and welcome back to another Jolly Phonics session with me. My name's Dan and I work for an organisation called Beyond Ourselves. And so we have been working in the Copper Belt mainly for the last 6 years, expanding the work of Jolly Phonics and using Jolly Phonics as a tool to help learners break through during that transition going from Zambian language literacy to English literacy. I hope you're excited to be here back with me again. It's really great to have you here. It's always great to hear where you're coming from today, where you're joining us from. So do get in touch, do reach out in the comments. That's always good to see. And hopefully you joined us before Christmas as well. So hopefully you were part of that session. So that session really was looking at giving you an orientation or an introduction to Jolly Phonics. The idea being that just kind of giving you a bit of a taster. Today and for the rest of the week, now that it's week 0, we're going to be doing some CPD, proper CPD. We're going to be looking at a more in-depth view of Jolly Phonics. But so far, we've really just focused on what's been the history of how we're working in Zambia, like what have we used in the past to help us to learn to read. And there we've looked at Jalita and Malenga. We've talked about rote learning and just how that works for some learners, but it often leaves some learners behind. And it's those learners that really, when we're using Jolly Phonics, we're really making sure that we capture everybody and bring everybody through to English literacy. So today we are going to be looking at the first 5 steps of a Jolly Phonics lesson. So I'm just going to carry on from where we finished off last time, so I hope you're with me. I hope technology is going to be working with us, and so hopefully we'll have a really effective about an hour. And if your network cuts out, this is going to be saved on our Facebook page. So do make sure you follow us. You make sure that you don't miss out on trainings like this, but it also means that you can watch those videos. You should be able to download those videos and watch them at your leisure. On top of that, we're also going to be uploading this onto our YouTube channel as well. So we really want to make sure that everyone can access this for free throughout Zambia. Okay, so it's great to see some of these comments coming in already. Great to see people joining us from Lusaka, Kitwe and Dola. We know that we've got a big following in Lusaka district and on the Copper Belt. So really encouraged to see these people joining us today, but really great to see people coming from all over Zambia, because we know that as this new curriculum rolls out, we're going to be looking for those people that are literacy champions in all corners of the country. So let's carry on with our presentation. I think I figured out the technology this time around, but let's see if we can do this. So that should be sharing that, and that's me in the corner. Fantastic. Okay, so we are going to be looking at the 5 skills of Jolly Phonics. We talked about this last time. So really, these are the 5 skills that we want our learners to develop. And these really are the things that help them to break through to literacy. So I know comprehension and fluency, those things are important, but they come after this. This is like the initial step in how children can initially break through to English. Okay, so the first skill that we've got is learning the letter sounds. So that's where children, if you remember, we talked about this last time, but that's where children need to know what the sounds, how to pronounce the sounds and what they look like. Then number 2 skill is that they also need to know the handwriting element of that. So they need to be able to form those letters correctly. And then next, we need to make sure that learners apply that knowledge. So it's about applying the knowledge. They've learnt the letter sounds, they've learnt the letter formations, but then it's about, can they apply that knowledge to reading? And so blending really is taking those sounds, putting them together and being able to read words from that. Okay, we're going to be going into this in more detail, so don't worry if you're not following initially. If this is your first time listening into Jolly Phonics, it's a really simple program. And you're going to love it. So just stay with us on this. So sounding is the next step that we've got. So that is the opposite kind of skill of blending. So blending is about putting sounds together to be able to read words. Sounding is about being able to spell or write words by being able to identify the sounds in a word. So for instance, if I'm trying to write a word, and if I want to write that word and I don't know how to spell it so far, then I might be thinking, well, what's the first sound that I can hear in that word? So let's think of the word dog. So what's the first sound that you can hear in the word dog? So by this point, again, we're making sure that learners are using words where they know the sounds already. So we're not asking them to write the word dog, but they've never learnt the sound d before, because that's not going to work. So by this point, we're making sure that learners know the d and the o and the g. So when we're looking at the order of the sounds, it means that they will have already done the d, o, and g. So they're at this point when you can ask them to write the word dog. So they're going to be thinking, using their sounding skills, or sometimes we call it segmenting. They're going to be thinking, what's the first sound I can hear? Dog, d. And then that's the learning the letter sound skill. But then they're also thinking about their letter formation skill. So what does a d look like? Okay, and so then hopefully, again, because you've taught them this, they know that a d is, oh, my pen's not working, but they know that d is a tall letter and that it starts in the middle, and we're going to go around, up, down, and flick. So you're going to coach them through making sure that they are identifying the sounds, hearing the sounds, and that then they are going to be writing each one of those. So that is the fourth skill, and that's the skill of sounding. And then the last skill that we've got there is number 5, and that is tricky words. So tricky words are words that don't follow the rules completely. So these are words where some of the word, or maybe all of the word, is irregular. Meaning that, so like the word 1, as in the number 1, okay? So the first sound that you can hear in 1 is actually more of a w sound, like the letter W, but there's no W in the word. So it's those words where actually you're going to need to teach the learners that some of this word, at least, is trying to trick you. And so, for instance, in the word 1, not the whole word is, the whole word isn't trying to trick you, because there is that n sound in there, 1. So the n sound is still present there. So you teach them which parts are trying to trick you and which parts still say their names, say the sounds as you expect them to. Okay, good. So we're going to be going on to looking at our presentation. And basically the 5 skills, that's what you want to develop in your learners, but you're going to do that through the 8 steps. So you can think of it a bit like the 5 skills, that's where we're going. Yeah, that's where we're going. But then the 8 steps, that's how we get there. Okay, so we're going to get our learners to learn these 8 steps by taking them, we're going to get our learners to learn or develop these 5 skills by taking them through the 8 steps of a Jolly Phonics lesson. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today, and we're going to be looking specifically at the first 5 steps of a Jolly Phonics lesson. So today I'm going to be going through the theory. We're going to be learning about this as if it's a classroom training, and then tomorrow we've got some videos from my colleague Matthews, who's going to show what that looks like in a classroom situation as well. And we've got some other videos that we've got from Jolly Phonics teachers from around the country that have sent in videos. So we're going to have Matthews taking the lead, but we're going to have some other videos from some other teachers along the way. Okay, so I hope you're ready for this. I hope you're excited. I hope that that you've got a paper and pen and you're ready to learn about how to deliver Jolly Phonics in your classroom. Oh, maybe before I say that, I should say that the direction that the revised curriculum's going in and where this fits in. So this fits in, at the moment, it fits in at grade 3. So in grade 3, under the existing curriculum, which is still relevant for the next couple of years at grade 3 level. So grade 3 learners should be starting to learn English literacy. Okay, so that's when they need to learn the sounds of the English language and they need to learn how to apply that knowledge to being able to read and write. So we've been using Jolly Phonics on the Copper Belt as a stepping stone to learners, or for learners to be able to access the primary literacy program. So they're using Jolly Phonics to learn the 42 sounds, to be able to blend those sounds together, to be able to read and write words using those sounds and develop handwriting skills. And then once they've done that, they're able to move on to the primary literacy program and that resource that's available. So that's grade 3. Pupil Book 2 is being used at grade 4 level currently, but then with the revised curriculum, we've actually gone through this. We've revised the Jolly Phonics program, and we've recontextualized it for grade 1 level. So now it's a case that we've had this approved by the Curriculum Development Centre, and so they are now saying that it can be used as a supplement in grade 1 as well. So if you are tuning in as a grade 1 teacher, this is completely relevant for you. If you're tuning in as a grade 3 teacher, this is completely relevant for you. If you're a grade 2 teacher or a grade 4 teacher, you might also want to check out some of the Pupil Book 2 resources that we've got. But I guess this year, grade 2 teachers, this is also relevant for you because you're going to have learners that are not reading. And so this is how you can take them through that. And if you're working at a private school or an international school, then yeah, you need to be looking at, in your school, where do you start teaching learners to read and write? Because that's where this program was designed to fit in. Okay. I should also say that we've had grade 8 teachers, or Form 1 teachers, sometimes, as we should call them now, but who have tuned into the Jolly Phonics program because they found that when they've started the school year, that some of their learners coming through really do need to learn to be able to read and write more effectively. And so if that's you as well, we've got some ways that you can use the Jolly Phonics program more effectively at that level. So do get in touch with us and we can tell you how we can support you to do that. Okay, so let's carry on with our presentation that we've got here today. So let's start off by looking at sound revision. Okay, so sound revision, the first question that we're thinking about is, what's the purpose of this step? Why do we do it? Okay, so the purpose of this step of a Jolly Phonics lesson is that really we want to revisit those sounds that our learners need to practice. So we're trying to go through this at a rate where we're teaching 4 sounds a week, but I guess, yeah, and if you're doing this at grade 1 level, maybe it'll be 2 sounds a week. So you might want to be splitting that up. But every lesson that you're doing, you're not just teaching a new sound, but you're also revising sounds that your learners have previously been taught. And there you're focusing on the sounds that your learners are struggling with. So a really important part of any teaching really is assessment. As a teacher, you need to know which sounds your learners can master, which sounds they are saying correctly, which sounds they are writing correctly, and those sounds that maybe they're struggling with. And the sounds that they're struggling to pronounce, that's probably where you want to focus. And we talked about this last time, but this is where the Jolly Phonics teaching aid is a really great resource, because what we've got in here is that we've also got the contextualization of Jolly Phonics. So if you've got the Jolly Phonics app, that's great, but you want to get the Jolly Phonics teaching aid. So this is what it looks like. We've got a color copy, or you might have also seen one that's the black and white copy as well. Okay, so both of those resources are the same on the inside, and they've got this page here. So this page is Zambian language versus English phonemes. Okay, so these are the sounds of English and Zambian language and how they compare to one another. Because what you'll find is that in these columns here, this column here, and you won't be able to see it clearly, perhaps, let me try and get it closer. So this column here, these are the sounds that are the same in Zambian language and in English. Okay, and so those are the sounds that your learners will already have familiarity with, and they should find it easy to pronounce those sounds. So here's a health warning though, so please do listen to this. What we see often is that teachers focus so much on teaching the syllables so that they're going ma, me, me, mo, mu, so that when a child sees this written, they see the letter M, they can struggle and they don't think, oh, that's but they think instead it's ma, me, me, mo. They think it's one of the syllables instead. So if you are a grade 1 teacher or ECE teacher and you're drilling your learners on the syllables of Zambian language, please make sure that your learners also understand that ma, the syllable, is made up of 2 sounds. It's the sound and it's the sound. Okay, so make sure that they know that it's got the 2 sounds in there, and that will really help them when they transition to English. So we're looking at this and what's the purpose of this step of sound revision, and that's to practice the sounds that you need to practice. So hopefully as a teacher you're keeping track of the sounds that your learners need to practice, and as I showed you that page earlier, what is clear is that often the sounds that your learners struggle with the most, those sounds are going to be the sounds that are new to them as they move into English. So we're going to be talking about those sounds being the digraphs, where you've got 2 letters that make 1 sound. Let me just turn that camera slightly. Yeah, so these digraphs as in A, O, I, E, O, those long vowel sounds, your learners are more likely to struggle with those because they're unfamiliar. And then also you've got some of the short vowel sounds where, so instead of saying in English, obviously in Bemba, in Chibemba and in other Zambian languages, the letter U is pronounced U. So it's those ones where we're needing to help our learners understand that the sounds are different or new as they move from Zambian language to English. Okay, so those are the ones that we're going to need to be thinking about revising. So how do you revise? What we recommend that you do most of the time is that you actually revise by showing flashcards. So we want to make sure that you've got your own set of flashcards. So flashcards generally, you want to make sure that if you've got them, or if you haven't got them, you can make them. You can make them from cereal boxes or other bits of cardboard. You can make them from manila paper, but you're going to use them a lot. So you want to cover them in sellotape. Okay, you want to keep them looking good. And you want to make sure that with your sounds, you're not just revising the alphabet. Too often we get teachers that are just focusing on teaching the alphabet and the sounds of the letters. But actually, remember, English is a lot more complicated than that. There's 44 sounds and there's over 170 different ways of spelling all of those sounds. So it's really quite complicated. So you want to make sure that your flashcards reflect that, and that you've got digraphs there as well as the single letter sounds. And the way that you're going to practice that is that you are going to show your flashcard and you're going to get your learners to say what the sound is. And so too often maybe, or maybe whilst I'm talking about that, maybe teachers that are tuning in, why don't you think about some other games or activities that you might use in order to teach or to revise sound? So you can add that into the comments and I'll look at that as well. So, but when we're using flashcards, what we're thinking about is that we're thinking about, you hold up the flashcard and you get your learners to say what the sound is. The problem that we see sometimes is that teachers, when their learners look at the sound, sometimes they'll let their learners just put their hands up, and what happens is that it will be the fastest learners that do all of the work, and it will be the fastest learners who put their hand up, they'll say the sound, and everybody else just copies what the fastest learner does. And what we want to do is we want to move away from that as much as possible. So when you are using flashcards, you can hold up the flashcard and you can tell your learners to think, talk, share. And so that's a really good way of making sure that learners don't just say the answer straight away, but what you do is you show the flashcard, you give them a chance, everybody to think. So no hands up, everybody just think. Okay, then talk to your neighbour, see what they think. And that's a good way to get everybody a bit more involved. So they can talk to their neighbour and say, oh, it's yeah. And then you can get them to share, and you can get them to share maybe as a class as well. And they can do the action and say the sound at the same time. So there's good ways of getting them all to participate. And we'll have a look at that again tomorrow in the lesson demonstration. So yeah, so you can use the action songs, that's great. Hunt the sound. So Hunt the Sound is a really great game, and that's where maybe we're teaching a sound, and let's say our sound is s. So or we're revising the sound s. So we might say to our class, can you see around our classroom any learning aids or any samples that have got sample words that have got the s sound in? So here you can see here that we've got s and we've got another s here. And what's great about this is that you don't have to read the word, because your learners can't read those words at this point in time. If they've learned this, you're just getting them to identify that and actually get them to think, oh, this is everywhere. You know, we'll see it in lots of different places. Okay, so that's a really effective way of getting them to just be aware that what you're teaching them is actually really practical, and that it will help them because they can see samples of these letters that you're trying to teach them all around them. Okay, so Hunt the Sound is really good. Miming, yeah, miming sounds in the Fly Swat game. If you don't know the Fly Swat game, make sure you check out our videos on this, because it's a really fun way of getting children to revise sounds. So we've got a video on our YouTube channel, we've got a video on our Facebook page as well. But if you don't know what that is, do ask somebody else and we'll get on to demonstrating that for you. But yes, you can revise sounds through the songs as well. So there's lots of ways, and we've even got Go Fish as well. So if we have a look back on this one here, so the Hunt the Sounds we've talked about, but Go Fish is where you've got the sounds that you've taught your learners are all going to be in a bag. And basically what you're doing is you're getting those sounds that you've already taught, and you get a child to open the bag and go fish. They pick out a fish, and on the back of that fish is one of the sounds that you wanted to practice. Okay, and so that's just a fun way of getting children to choose a sound, and then they pick out a sound. They can go and stand at the front of the class, and that gives them time to know it properly, and then they show that sound to the class, and then they do the action and the sound, and the rest of the class join in with that as well. One other thing that I do want to talk about at this time is also something that's really valuable, and that's called targeted listening. Because if your learners are calling out answers and chorusing, actually you need to know about something called targeted listening. So maybe I'll give people a chance to write what they think targeted listening is. If you're watching this live, if you're watching it afterwards, then you can also send us a message, that's fine. Okay, so some of those answers are coming through bit by bit. Targeting listening is something that helps us get away from chorusing, because chorusing isn't always effective, because it's getting children to practice something, but, well, there's a saying, isn't there? Practice makes perfect. But actually, if learners are practicing the wrong thing, then it doesn't help. It's not going to get perfect. So we say practice makes permanent. If you're getting children to practice something, that's going to become something that's embedded in them. That's going to become permanent. So you need to make sure that they are practicing the right thing. And when it comes to chorusing, it's impossible to tell when you've got a large class. Let's say you've got a class of 80 or more, and you're showing a flashcard and everybody's going, or everybody's saying sounds, and some people are going the letter U, some people are going ah, 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 some people are going ah, 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 and some people are going ooh, ooh, ooh. And if everybody's chorusing, you can't tell who's getting it right and who's getting it wrong. And often it's a case that even the learners themselves, they can't hear the difference because they might be going ooh, 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 and they don't realize that they're getting it wrong. So targeted listening is a really effective tool to make sure that you are listening to all of your learners and hearing what they're saying. And so the way that targeted listening works is that you get your class and you show them a flashcard and you give them thinking time and talking time. And then rather than saying you want the whole class to call out the answer, you say, okay, this section of my class, so these two tables, I want you to call out the answer. Everybody else, jungle awe. Yeah, everybody else quiet. And then so they say the sound, and you can hear more effectively who's getting it right and who's getting it wrong. Then you ask the next section of your class, and these stay quiet. And then you ask the other section of your class, and then everybody else stays quiet. You need to move around the classroom for this, and you need to stand in the middle of that group that you're asking to say the sound. And if you do that, you'll be able to hear which of your learners are getting the sound correct and which of them are getting it wrong. And then you can help those that are getting it wrong before they start practicing and embedding the wrong thing. Okay, so that is looking at revising sounds. So let's have a look at this. Let's see if this video is going to work for you. Okay, so this is an example. Somebody talks of come and dance as a good game. So let's see if this works. Technology has not always been my friend on these. Okay, so that's a really great video. What I love about this video is that the teacher moves at a fast pace. She goes through the sounds quickly, but you can see how engaged the learners are when they're doing this. And what's happening is that she'll show the flashcard. The learners can see that it's going to be their turn. They get up and they come and dance. If you haven't got space to move around your classroom, what you can do is you can get your learners to stand and dance. And what you can also do in this activity is you could say, rather than it just being one child that's got the flashcard, you can say that this child is going to share that flashcard with the whole desk. And so it's more children standing up and dancing. And you could also have multiple copies of the same flashcard. So for instance, come and dance. You could have a child over there with a flashcard, but you could also have a child over there with a flashcard or a table over there. And you can just get more children to be involved. When you've got large classes, it's really hard to teach effectively, but you can do it. And there's ways that you can engage more of your class. Because what we want to avoid is that sometimes large classes means that it's too easy for a learner just to sit there and do nothing. And what we want our class and our children to be engaged in the lesson. We want them to enjoy this, and we want them to learn. And what we've seen time and again is that Jolly Phonics is having a really positive impact in class participation. And actually, sorry to say this, teachers, sometimes we've seen attendance goes down. Attendance goes up, absenteeism goes down, because learners want to be there for the next lesson where they're going to learn a sound and they don't want to miss out. Okay, so after we've taught after we've revised the sounds, we're going to be thinking about teaching the next sound of the day. So again, what's the purpose of this step? Why do we teach this? So the purpose of the story is to introduce the sound of the day. Now, what happens is that learners sometimes, we've seen that teachers tell the story and it gets really long and it ends up taking a big chunk of the lesson. But that's where it's important that we've got this bit here. There we go. What's the purpose of the step? Thinking about that. Because if the purpose of the step is to introduce the sound of the day, introduce the action that goes with that, then actually that's your focus. You want to do that. And we want to do it in an interesting way and a memorable way. But the main thing that we want to get out of telling the story is, are the learners being exposed to the sound of the day, and are they learning the action? So we've got a sample of that here. So let's watch this video of this teacher.
Hello everyone. Today I've got an interesting story. But before that, I have two things with me and I want you to name them. This is a fruit. Do you know this fruit? What is its name? Avocado. Very good. Can you say it again? Avocado. I have this insect with me. What is its name? Ant. Again? Ant. Very good. Now can you pay attention to the story? Andrew was outside his home. The avocado tree was full of ripe avocados. Andrew looked at the avocados. His belly rumbled as he thought of eating one of his favorite fruits. Andrew saw one big drop from a low branch and land near him. Andrew looked at it. As he reached down to pick it, the avocado moved. Andrew was confused. He tried to pick it again. It moved. Andrew was getting more confused. The avocado was moving on its own. Finally, he picked it up. Then he noticed it was covered by ants. Oh, so it was carried by the ants. The ants were crawling Andrew's arm. Ah! 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 Ants! Andrew shouted. The ants were busy crawling Andrew's arm. Busy crawling Andrew's arm. So, according to the story, what is Andrew's favorite fruit?
Okay, so that's a really effective way of doing this. She goes on to teaching. She goes on to teaching the letter formation. You see that she's got her tablet there as well, like her chalkboard. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to point out a few things. And I wanted to point out that, yes, what are the things that she does that makes this storytelling effective? So do have a look at that, okay? So what were some of the things? So if you're watching this live, you can respond to this. But think about, how does this teacher engage her learners in the telling of this story? Because one thing that is really important is that when we're doing this in the Jolly Phonics teaching aid, we do have, I don't know if you're going to see this because I'm quite small, but you do have the stories written in the Jolly Phonics teaching aid. But the idea is not that the teacher is reading the story, the teacher is telling the story. So, how is the teacher effective when she's doing this? Okay, so have a little think. What did you think was good about the way that she was doing that? I can see some comments coming in. Yeah, so that's good as well. Marianne, I will say that I can see your comments. I'll respond to them after this. I can't respond right now, but we'll figure out how to get you the Jolly Phonics book and the like as well. But yes, We've got her tone of voice. She was animated in her tone of voice. She brought in real objects or props. That was really good, wasn't it? Because she had an avocado, she had a picture of an ant, and that really does engage the learners. Because, yeah, and I think another key thing is that it's not just real objects that the children can relate to, but it's a story that they can relate to. They know avocado trees, they know ants, they know what it's like to be standing there and the ants are on their arm, yeah? And she's demonstrating, isn't she? She's animated, she's showing that action. And that's a real strength of Jolly Phonics, is that you're teaching a sound, but it's introduced through an action that is relatable and that is effective for the learners to be able to practice or demonstrate. Okay, so that's really good, isn't it? So the sound story, the purpose of that is to introduce the new sound of the day. Okay, so let's have a look at this next slide. So what we've got in our next slide is we're looking at the sound story for S. So let me just move out the way here. So here's what it looks like in the Jolly Phonics teaching aid. So I know that when we were setting this up, we were encouraging people to get a copy of the Jolly Phonics teaching aid. So if you don't already have one, unfortunately, we don't have soft copies that we're allowed to give out because we've got some copyrights, unfortunately, on those that we can't do anything about right now. But what we can do is we can get copies of the teaching aid to people as well. So we're working with the DRCCs to try and get these into the district resource centres in your area. So if you wanted to get hold of one of these, let us know where you are. Get in contact with our phone number. So the number is 09. Oh no, I'm going to forget it. The phone number's on our Facebook page, and I'll share it later on. But that's the line where if you want to get hold of a copy of the book, then you get in contact with that. And I apologise. I think somebody said, or a few people said, that it's been off today or in the last few days, but it will be online again tomorrow for sure. Okay, so do get in contact with us on there. Send an SMS, and if nobody gets hold of you, then you can also send a message via Facebook as well. But the Jolly Phonics teaching aid, it does include these stories as well. So let me show this again. So it includes a short story. Oh, this way around. It includes a short story and a picture to have a look at as well. And so that short story, you can see from reading this one. It says, one sunny day, Sanka is walking by a stream with her dog, Spot. Sanka throws a stick for Spot to bring back. The stick lands in the thick grass, but rather than bringing the stick back, Spot stands still, smells, and then starts to bark at the thick grass. As Sanka walks closer to Spot, she hears a sound, and then as you do this, you talk about, she hears a sound, and it says, ask your learners, what do you think that could be? And say, yes, there was a snake in the grass. Now, I read that story rather than telling the story. The idea, again, it's a short story. You read that, you familiarize yourself with it, and then you tell the story. And as you're telling it, you're going to be maybe bringing in a stick, and you can throw the stick, and you can pretend that Spot the dog gets it and brings it back in her teeth and goes, brings it back and goes, and then Sanka throws the stick again. But this time, rather than bringing the stick back, Spot just stops, sniffs, and then starts barking. And as Sanka gets closer, she hears the sound. What do you think it could be? Do you see how you can draw that interest out of your class? And it doesn't take much effort. And if you don't want to be a dog, you can choose a child to pretend to be Spot. They can be the one that barks. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. So really effective. You tell a story, and that story must introduce the sound of the day. And as you introduce the sound of the day, you also introduce the action. So let's look at this next slide. So you're going to introduce the action. And the purpose of the action really is, it's a physical reminder of the sound of the day. We're teaching the action so that children, if they don't always remember the sound, if they go like this, oh, you say, and then they're like, oh yeah, it's, or you can do this, and they go, oh yeah, ah, ah, ah. And it's one of those things where, as we all know, people learn in different ways. And there's some people that learn by seeing. Those are the children that often do well with Jolita and Malenga because they can memorize things. But then there's those people that also need to learn by doing or by getting up and hearing as well. You've got all of those different, you've got visual, auditory, you've got kinesthetic, those people that need to get around and move. All of these different ways, Jolly Phonics is utilizing to help learners that learn in different ways to remember the sounds of the English language. Okay, so let's have a look at the next slide then. So here, so in the story, again, what you'll see is that we've got the story there, and then alongside that, it's got the actions that we want to be thinking about. So here's the action here. So this is what the action looks like. So on the Jolly Phonics teaching aid, you'll see that it's got at the very top, let me see if I can, I don't know if you can see my, there we go. At the very top, it's got the sound revision. So these are the sounds, it says, you know, revise 5 to 10 sounds that your learners need to practice using flashcards and other activities. So do you remember those other activities? We talked about hunt the sounds, we talked about come and dance, do as I do. There's songs, there's games, there's fly swat, there's ways that you can help your learners really learn those sounds. Making sure that as you do that, you're making use of think, talk, share, yeah, so that it's not just your fast learners that are responding. And then you're also going to make use of targeted listening. Are you making sure that all of your learners are engaging in learning the sounds? Then, after you've done that, you're going to introduce the new sound of the day through a story. So here, there's an overview of the story, but you're not going to read that story. No, you're going to tell the story. You're going to use props. You're going to use animation. You're going to be moving your body around, yeah? You're going to be throwing sticks. You're going to be turning light switch on and off. You're going to be telling off children that haven't gone to bed on time. You're going to be doing all of those things that help your learners to really be interested in what you're doing, okay? So, and then the key thing is that you're introducing the action. So if you'll see from the Jolly Phonics teaching aids, if you'd see just here, it's also got the action. And there's a picture of the action, but we also have videos of the actions. If you're not sure of the sounds, you can see those videos. You can also check out the Jolly Phonics Lessons app. So this is what it looks like. It's completely free on the Google Play Store, and it's got all of the sounds listed here. And so if there's a sound that you want to do, so this is the sound, it's got the story, and it's got the action and what the action looks like. But then it's also got, you can practice listening to the sounds, and you can practice saying the sounds as well. There's lots of other games and activities on the app. If you haven't got it, get it. It's really good. But do remember that the app was developed by the UK for the UK. So it's not contextualized, and that's where we're recommending not free, but getting this. We are selling this for, I think it's going to be 100 kwacha, just around about that mark, okay? So 100 kwacha to get a book. We might be able to do these ones a bit cheaper, but get in touch with our offices and we can sort that out and help you get that as well. But that's a really effective resource. So the last step that we've got that helps learners to learn the letter sounds, so that we're going to revise sounds, we're going to tell stories to introduce a new sound, we're going to use actions to do that. But then on top of that, we're going to do songs as well. So let's have a look at that. So the songs. The purpose of the song is what? Let me give you a moment to do that. Why do we do the songs? I'm going to check in on the comments again. So if you are looking for the app, we'll send a link to that as well. So I'll put that into the comments, but it's just on the Google Play Store, and it's called the Jolly Phonics Lessons app. So Jolly Phonics Lessons app. But that's what you're searching for. If you've got an Apple device, if you've got an iPhone, then it won't be free, unfortunately. It's not free on the iStore, but it is free on the Google Play Store. So I'm not sure why that is. I think it's to do with the licensing. But I also don't know how much it costs on the iStore. So you can let me know on that as well. Okay, so yes, the song does help us to revise the sounds. But the other thing that we do through this is that it also helps to reinforce the sound story and the action of the day. So we're going to be looking at the Jolly songs for that. So let's look at this together. And then what I want to point out to you is that in the Jolly Phonics teaching aid, you'll find that sometimes in the corners, you'll see that with this song for the sound O, you'll see that there's different flags in the corner. So I've made that big there, so hopefully you can see that okay. So we've got two flags, and the reason that we've got those two flags is that because the songs were developed in the UK, so that's the British flag, and some of the songs, some of the stories, when we've contextualized Jolly Phonics for Zambia, we needed to change some of the stories because the stories were written for the UK, and a child in the UK there were stories that kind of made more sense to children in the UK that were less relatable for children in Zambia. So for instance, one of the stories in the British version is about the I sound, and it's about a child who has got a pet mouse. Here we go, let's go to this one here. It's about a child who's got a pet mouse. And that pet mouse lives, as you'll see in the picture up here, the pet mouse lives in a cage on the desk in his bedroom. And it's about this pet mouse who spills ink on himself. And so what we realize is that actually, as learners in Zambia are looking at this story, they're going to be thinking, why would anybody have a rat in their bedroom as a pet? Like, it doesn't make sense, and it doesn't make sense. And so what we looked at was how we can change the story so that it would make sense to a learner. So they're not focused on, that doesn't make sense, but instead they can be focused on, this is the sound for this action and for this letter. Okay, so what we did is we made the story about, instead of it being about a mouse, it was about Inonge cooking imbalala on the fire. And so here we've got Inonge, there she is. She's cooking some imbalala, and there's her brother Innocent, and he's been digging a pit all morning, and he's hungry, and she knows he's hungry. But she walks away just to get something from inside, and when she comes back outside, she notices that some of her imbalala is missing. And so who do you think stole it? And so you can ask your learners that. And usually they'll be like, it was Innocent. And so you can say, yes. Inonge turns to Innocent and she says, hey, Iwe, did you steal my imbalala? And Innocent says, no, it wasn't me. Innocent by name, innocent by nature. And just then, that's when they hear it. They hear, eh, 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 eh. And what do they notice? But they notice, if you look down here, they notice that behind the rocks, there was a rat eating the imbalala. So, and then you can say, can you pretend to be the rat? Can you go, eh, eh, eh? These are your whiskers as you're eating, eh, 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 eh. Okay, so we've had to change the story so that it makes sense for Zambia. And when we change the story, that means that sometimes we need to change the lyrics of the song as well. And so that's why we've sometimes got the two flags. So you'll see that this flag is just for Zambia, okay? And so rather than it being about the song being about a mouse that gets covered in ink, this is a story that's about a rat that ran off with the food. Okay, and we can listen to that just now. Oh, yes. Oh, hold on, let me pause it. Oh, that's gone badly. But what we've had to do is that we haven't got people singing along this. So we've just got a backing track. So you're going to need to sing it yourself. And because I'm in this room on my own right now, I'm going to have to sing it for you. And I'm just going to pretend that you're singing along at home. So let's see how we get on. Okay, so you ready? Oh, let's find that song again. A rat ran off with my food. A rat ran off with my food. A rat ran off with my food. So the purpose of these songs is that it's revising the story. I'm reminding the learners what the story was. But then I'm also practicing the action and I'm practicing the sound. So it consolidates all of those things. And what you'll notice is that the song itself is really short. Yeah, it's just like 5-10 seconds long. And we teach this to our learners by making sure that they understand what the lyrics are. So I would say to my learners, the song is about a rat that ran off with my food, and that's what we're going to sing. Just making sure that they know the lyrics that you're talking about. But, and this is a key thing because we see teachers do this wrong sometimes, you don't write the lyrics on the board. The lyrics are not all safe words at this point in time. If a learner, let me go back to this one. If a learner is here learning the it sound, then actually the word rat isn't even safe because they've not done the sound yet. Does that make sense? So you need to focus as a teacher. You're not going to write the lyrics of the song on the board, but instead you're teaching the lyrics as you just talk them through the lyrics. Okay? But sound revision, story, action, and song, those 4 things, those all help to develop that first skill. And that first skill, if you remember, is learning the letter sounds. So the second skill is where we're going to be going to next. Okay, so let me go back to this slide here. All right. How are you doing? Do you want to drop me in a comment? We're just going to be looking at this last step, 5th step, and then we're going to be finishing. I know we're getting close to being an hour, and I'm trying to keep this down. But there's just lots to talk about, really, isn't there? But I hope you're doing well. I see people tagging their friends to make sure that they're not missing out as well. So letter formation. Let's think about that. What's the purpose of letter formation? So we're going to be thinking about our learners need to know what the sound looks like so they can write or form it correctly. That's why it's called letter formation. So as we're doing this, we're going to be thinking about, first of all, well, maybe let me ask you again, what are the most important things to communicate to your learners? What do they need to know about letter formation? Yeah, and there's lots of things that we highlight. And this is something that is really valuable at any grade, in any language. What are the things that when we're learning to write the letters of a language, what do we want our learners to be able to do? Okay, what do we want to focus on as teachers? So let's see if we've got any feedback on that. So, this is great. Okay, so yes, the first thing that we might want to be thinking about, and this is a key thing in Zambia. We talk about sitting like Leo, right? And not like Jumba, not the hunched over. So here we want to be thinking about correct posture and pencil hold. Now, when we talk about holding a pencil, we're going to be talking about the tripod grip. So the tripod grip is really, well, tri means 3, right? And we're talking about holding so you could actually do it like this. So if I pick up my pen, I'm going to hold it with my thumb and first finger, and then I bring it over, and then I use my other finger there to support it. So the tripod grip looks like this. You're holding it in 3 fingers. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Some people use 4 fingers. If you use 4 fingers, that's going to be okay as well, but you're just going to have less dexterity. So your fingers are going to be moving slightly less easily. So 3 fingers, because there's less fingers supporting, it actually means that you've got fewer fingers that need to be moving back and forth. And we also call this froggy legs, okay? Because it looks a little bit like a frog's, or how do I hold my hand? It looks a bit like a frog's when it's jumping. Can you see that? So froggy legs is what we're talking about, or the tripod grip. Okay, so we're going to be thinking about that, and then we're going to be looking at the different kinds of letters that we've got. So here's a good one for you all. We've put this into child speak. So really we would talk about ascenders and descenders and square letters, but for it to be more accessible to children, they don't need to know that it's an ascender or a descender, but instead we talk about tall letters, small letters, and 4 letters. So we've got an example here already. So letter B is a tall letter. So can you think of what are some of the other tall letters that should be there? So let's see what you're writing in the comments. Let's give that a go again. Yep, I'm going to come to some of those points. Thanks, Irene. I like your comments. Good stuff. Yeah, so the tall letters, we're going to be thinking about letter B. Some of the other examples that we've got going on here is that we've got letter D. F is a tricky one because it's tall, but it also kind of goes along below the line. H, K, L, and T. So these are all tall letters. And we say tall like a giraffe, and that's why there's a picture of a giraffe there. So then we've got small letters. So small letters are letters that just crawl along the line. And so they don't go above the middle point of that line, that red middle point. I don't know if you can see that on some of my lines there. But these small letters, or tortoise letters, are like this. So we've got A, C, E, I, M, N, O, R, S, U, V, W, X, and Z. So in Zambia, we talk about doing print lettering to begin with. So that's grade 1. Grade 2 is where we're going to be looking at precursive. So that's when your letters have got tails or flicks. So you can see the letter A, that's the precursive because it's got the flick at the air. You're ready to join that onto the next letter. And then in grade 3, under the new curriculum, we're going to be looking at that's going to be a place where you're doing joining. And so we talk about using the Marion Richardson script, but that's really kind of just a cursive script as well, because Marion Richardson is actually quite a specific font where your B's end up looking like that and joining that. So I think cursive is where we're looking for. So 4 letters is the last category, and so there we say that these are letters where there's a tail that falls below the line, just like a monkey's tail. Okay, so we've got G, J, P, Q, and Y. Okay, so these are the 4 letters. And just a reminder, we've got tall letters, small letters, and 4 letters. It's great because they rhyme. It makes it easier for us to remember all of them there. Okay, so let's look at the next slide. So what you'll see in this is that in the Jolly Phonics teaching aid, again, you do want to make sure you get a copy of this, because what we've got is that each slide, each letter, we've got some direction for the teacher. And this talks about, you can see it on there, but it talks about the size of a letter, the starting point, and the direction as well. So that's what this next slide's looking at here. Okay, so we talk about the size of the letter, whether it's tall, small, or full. And then we talk about the starting point. So is it going to be starting in the middle line, or is it going to be starting at the top? And so we've got a good couple of examples here. So we've got letter A and letter D that we're going to be looking at in a moment. But letter A, when we talk about the formation, we say, actually, that's going to start where? Maybe you can, where is that letter A going to start? Is it starting in the middle, or is it starting at the top, or is it starting at the bottom? Now, if you've been to one of our trainings before, you probably have heard this, and you're probably well versed in this. But letter A, you'll see the white dot that's just here, and you'll see that it's starting on that red line, that middle line. And what we do is when we do an A, it's going to go, it's a small letter, and it's going to go around, or let me do it your way, it's going to go around, up, down. And if you're doing print, then it's just going to go around, up, down. If you're doing precursive, it's going to go around, up, down, and flick. Okay? So that's letter A, but then what we realize is that letter D actually kind of follows the same pattern, because it also starts in the middle and it goes around, up, down, and flick. But because it's a tall letter, we need to do something a bit different, and that's where we're going to do this. So letter D, we're going to be thinking of it in terms of around, up, up, down, down, and flick. Yeah? So did you see what I did there? Because it's a tall letter, I'm going to go, let me follow my mouse as I do this. So it's going to go around, up, up, down, down, and flick. Yeah? Because we want to acknowledge that it's a tall letter, so that's why we do up, up, and down, down. Okay? The other thing to bear in mind as we do that is that you saw that when I'm demonstrating that to you, I'm trying to think about which way round I'm writing it. So we're going to be looking at that as well. So let's have a look at this then. So what are the different ways that we're going to practice letter formation? So have a little think about this with your sitting with other people. What are we going to do to make sure that our learners are practicing the letter formations correctly? So we've talked about how we might write those on the board. We've talked about how we're going to be showing them flashcards, but how are we going to get them to practice this? So have a little think, have a little type, or respond on your phone, but tell me, what are some of the activities that you use when you're getting your learners to practice letter formations? Okay, so I'm seeing some of those come in. Good, thank you very much. Good. Okay, so we're going to be thinking about this. We're going to make sure that first of all, we're showing them on the board. So you've got your chalkboard. Unfortunately, you saw that my whiteboard pen has run dry, so it's not working right now, unfortunately. But what you would do is you would show them on the board, and when you show them on the board, you want to make sure that your board has got those lines. Yeah, so it's going to have a bottom line and maybe a dotted middle line and then a top line. Because then you can show that letter A is small and that letter D is tall. And you can show the line that goes underneath on a G. Yeah, and that show that it's a full letter. And teachers, be careful here, because I see so many teachers, when they write letter S, they often want to write it as a capital. So just be careful that if it's not meant to be a capital, if it's not at the beginning of a sentence, or it's not a proper noun, then just make sure that you're writing it small. Okay? So on the board is a good way to do this. Then we'd also practice in the air, and you saw me doing this before. So letter D, we're going to go around, up, up, down, down, and flick. And if you're doing that in the air, it's really simple to get children not just to use their fingers, but they can use their body parts as well. So just making sure you can see me. So if I'm, rather than just using my finger here to do a D, I'm going to use my elbow. So you ready? So we're going to go around, up, up, down, down, and flick. Okay, so it's the same thing as we're doing this. We want to get all of our learners, regardless of how they learn, we want to get them engaged in this. So if children learn best by auditory, by hearing things, then you want to get them to practice saying the formation as they're doing it. Okay, get them up and moving, but get them to as they're doing it, to speak the formation out. Okay, so if I'm going to use my nose, I might go around, up, down, down, and flick. Okay, you can have a lot of fun with that one. You're also going to be thinking about maybe if you've got younger children, getting them outside and writing in the dirt, getting them to write in the dust on the tables. If it's a hot day, you can get them to write by dipping their finger in water and writing in water. And the great thing about all of those things is that it's temporary. You can rub out their children's work when they're finished. They don't need to worry about getting it perfect, but they're just getting used to practicing it and getting the formation correct. Okay, but you also want to make sure that they are practicing in their books, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But first, you might want to talk about writing on their palm. So here again, what's nice here, and let me change my video view. So what's good here is that on your hand, we've kind of got a middle line here, dotted middle line, and this is your bottom line. And so if you're writing on your hand, let's say we're doing B, it's going to go down, down, up, over, round, and touch. So a 4-letter would go, so let's do letter G, is going to go around, it's going to go around, up, down, down, and under. Okay? So, and the good thing about writing on a palm as a teacher is that you don't need to write it mirror. You can just write it normal because it's the right orientation for your learners. Okay? But on the palm is a good way of doing that. As well as doing that, you can also write on a partner's back. Oh, I'm in the way there. So writing on a partner's back. So again, that's just using your finger, tracing it on their back with your finger, seeing if they can tell which letter you are writing. And then the last one that we recommend that you do is using the pupils' books. Okay, so making sure that your learners are actually writing in those books so that you're able to see what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong, and you're able to offer that correction. And do make sure that you're looking at the lines, seeing whether it's the right shape, whether it's starting in the right place, whether it's the right size, and then just looking to see whether the pencil has gone through the right direction. So we are, oh yeah, and we've also got that in our Jolly Phonics teaching aid as well. Okay, so let's go to this then. Oh yeah, no, that is going to be it for today. That's good. All right, so at the beginning of today, we were trying to get through all of this. So we've talked about how our learners need to learn the 5 skills. So the first 2 skills that we've looked at are learning the letter sounds and letter formation. Now this is knowledge really, okay? So we're going to make sure that our children know the letter sounds, they know how to form them correctly. And then the next 2 are about developing or applying that knowledge to develop the skills of blending and sounding. So you've taught them how to pronounce the sounds, how to write the sounds, and then you're going to be applying that knowledge to reading and writing. So we're going to be leaving that here today. Tomorrow we're going to have some videos from my colleague Matthews demonstrating what this looks like in a classroom situation. We're also going to have some extra videos from some of you guys that have been sending in videos. I do want to highlight this to you. There really is an amazing opportunity. I know that CPD and TCZ are dangerous words to say right now. I know that. So I apologize for this. But listen, there's a really amazing opportunity with the TCZ right now. When you've done a training like this, you can earn up to 75 CPD points with Beyond Ourselves Zambia by showing us how you are implementing this training in your classroom. you send us videos that relate to different tasks that we've set. Okay, and I'll share a link to this in the chat afterwards. So you send us a video that shows that you are teaching the letter sounds effectively, and there's 3 tasks for that. Okay, then you send us videos that show that you're teaching letter formation correctly, and again there's 3 tasks. When you've done those 3 tasks, we'll be able to say, you're doing this great, try doing this to make it more effective. Because that's the heart of CPD, really. It's about trying to make sure that you are teaching as effectively as possible, because we want you to release the potential of your learners. So in turn, we're trying to release your potential and the potential of this program and you using this program. So we want to make sure that when we've done a training like this, that you're following it up by using it in your classroom. And we want to make sure that we can walk that journey as you're using it for the first time. You can send us videos and you can say, yeah, this was great. I love how you did that. I love how you did that. Try doing this to make it even more effective. So do send us videos. Do have a look at these tasks, and you can become a really effective practitioner of Jolly Phonics. You can be teaching English literacy as a champion in your school. But further than that, you can also earn those TCZ points, and you can become somebody that we highlight to your Debs as somebody that is using Jolly Phonics effectively and that can be used to mentor or maybe even train others in your district. Okay, so let's have a look at this video, and then I'm just going to be finishing off.
Sound.
Teachers throughout the Copper Belt are earning up to 50 CPD points by providing evidence that they are teaching Jolly Phonics effectively.
Like a snake, everybody, with your hands, let's go. Again.
When teachers are able to show us that they are implementing the Jolly Phonics training that we have provided, then as one of the TCZ official CPD service providers, Beyond Ourselves Zambia is able to award up to 50 CPD points per teacher. You heard that right, 50 CPD points per teacher.
Okay, I think that maybe the sound wasn't working on that video, so I've stopped it, and hopefully I'll send it again, or I'll share it in this group. So I just want to encourage you that it is really worthwhile not just sitting in a training, not just being entertained by the Mzungu, but actually if you implement this in your classroom, we want to support you in doing that. We want to help make sure that you are doing it effectively. So today was theory, tomorrow practical. We've got Matthew's doing some demonstrations, we've got other demonstrations, and then on Wednesday it's going to be theory again, and it's going to be back to me, and we're going to be looking at blending and sounding and how to teach those in your classroom. Okay, then we'll have more practical and then maybe a bit more theory just to finish off. Okay, I hope that you've enjoyed today. I've enjoyed today. It's been great to see your interactions. I know that network is an issue. I know that Zesco is an issue. So well done if you've made it this far. It looks like we've got a loyal group that's seen it to the end. But if you're watching this not live, if you've downloaded it, or if you're watching it on Facebook at another time, do reach out. Tell us where you're coming from. Tell us where you're using this. And as the new school starts next week or maybe in February, then just really do keep us involved. Let us know how you're doing, because we want to walk that journey to make sure that you are using Jolly Phonics effectively and becoming a jolly good teacher. Okay? Thank you very much for your participation, and I'll see you next time.